What is up? Kevin Hale here on this Sunday night, April 13th, 2025. It is round of shots. Look, it would help, wouldn't it? Jeez. This is what happens when you're a one-man band. You know, my budget doesn't allow for an assistant, all that good stuff. Anyways, hope everyone is doing well. Streaming this thing live on YouTube and X. People in the chat, thanks for hanging. Bring us your comments, your questions. Let's have a good time. Buzz, Doc, Avo, and my man Kendrick. It's been a minute since I've seen you, brother. How are you, man?
I know it's been a minute. I'm good, man. It's good to see you. Missed your face.
You too. We got to get out, do some adult beverages, and all that good stuff. So
for sure.
Yeah, Kendrick's here in the Louisville area. He's with Wave 3 Sports. Again, Kendrick, thanks for hanging out with us. Let's do this. This past week, man, if you're a Kentucky basketball men's hoops fan, you were really enjoying what the portal was doing for us. Davo, since you're the non-media guy, you're my media guy. You're a round of shots guy. But, you know, not the media guy as the other three are. I'm going to start with you. You're a fan. You're actively involved on X. You go at people. You take it. You give it. And this week, you know, we're in a week where we lost a recruit. But that got overshadowed by all of our pickups. And then what kind of transpired today with possibly another pickup, you know, that was a recruit, a player that was at Keeneland with Coach Pope. As a fan, how were you feeling this week, bro?
You got to feel optimistic, you know. As you said, losing a Caden, you know, kind of stung because it just happened so randomly in the middle of the night. So it stunk. But I think a lot of people were so upset about it was because, you know, he was in that point guard role. And we all remember, you know, what just happened to us with all the injuries. So it kind of scared a lot of people. But I got so much trust in Pope to know what he's going to do. And he just took a high-profile recruit to Keeneland, which usually wraps things up for us. Keeneland Magic usually works for us. So you got to be so happy with what Pope did. I know we talked about it in the spaces about how quickly he's put together a big group of athletes to what he went through and what he went against with his schedule, especially in the SEC. So he has put together an impressive group of not just athletes, but ball players. So I'm really excited for him. So I'm not worried about it at all. If we get Wilkerson at this point, it's just the icing on the cake. But I'm super happy with the roster as it is. So.
Okay, you know, I already messed up my arrangement of topics, so let me pause the portal talk. Kendrick, you're joining us.
I'm not saying that all over again.
No, you're not. No, you don't have to. It's recorded. I'll replay it if needed. Kendrick, I will start with you. Let me get your take real quick on Coach Pope's first season. You covered him quite a bit. You were there, Sweet 16. Your assessment on how Coach Pope did this season?
I think he went above and beyond expectations. I mean, year one to go to the Sweet 16, year one under John Calipari went to the Elite Eight. So it was one less year with less time to recruit, and he wasn't bringing over his 5-star recruits from his previous visit. So I'm more than excited about what Coach Pope did in year one. I mean, for the limited time he had to put that roster together, and a roster that beat as many ranked opponents as they did, including the national champion. I mean, you can't help but be excited about the future, and I think he did a phenomenal job in year one.
Any feedback or response to Kendrick, Mr. Baker?
No, I love Kendrick.
Yeah, that's enough said. I mean, who does it?
Right. The only thing I would ask, Davo would probably know this. Who was the recruit that he took out to Keeneland last year? I mean, it was like, that's exactly who it was, Mr. Weetabix. And did you see that he got an NIL deal?
Yes.
In England? I I called my person who runs the Irish shop here, and I said, Liza, can I get a box? She said, I'll have to have my sister send it from England. He must be a victim of all this tariff talk.
No. Doc, any follow up to Mr. Haskins?
Yeah, I want to ask Kendrick. First of all, welcome. It's always great. They talk about longevity and health, and people always mention diet and exercise, but I think community is also long neglected. So it's always wonderful to have this Sunday night round of shots community. So welcome and kudos. Now, after having said that, I have to ask you, what do you think about the Pope's loss to Arkansas during the course of the year? I think that's the one major blip. How much of a damper does that put on your thought of, hey, it was a great season?
It really doesn't, just because of the fact that Cal wins those games, just like he beat Patino in the NCAA tournament. Those games, those high-profile games when all eyes are on Cal, he wins those games. He just does. There's no rhyme or reason why he does it, but he does. He wins those games. So it didn't put a damper on me at all. I mean, let's be honest, before everything started, I thought Arkansas was going to come in and win that game anyway. As the game approached, I kind of thought Kentucky might win, but it just proved what I thought. Cal wins those games when he can go out there and be swaggy Cal. And there was a point, because I was actually shooting the game, and he looked over at all of us on the media row shooting the games, and he gave us a wink when he knew the game was pretty much in hand. And like, that's Cal being Cal. So it really didn't surprise me. So it didn't put a damper on anything for me.
Did it put a damper on you, Davo? You're shaking your head. Speak freely, brother. What?
He said it. Cal doesn't lose those games. I think we all went into that game just hoping that we was going to get the shit Arkansas team the way they were playing coming into that game. But Cal, whatever. Cal.
What say you, Mr. Baker?
Did you have anybody call you up during the season and say, "Man, I wish Cal was here. We'd have won that game if Cal had been here"? I mean, did they? I'm just asking. Come on, Davo, you start. I mean, Kevin, you start all this stuff. You're the pot stirrer.
I didn't bring up Cal. Doc did. But what? I mean,
I think we should have Chris Beard on one night.
Yeah, my man fell a little bit short, but
he did.
My other buddy Todd Golden, or as Buzz Baker said, frickin' Todd Golden, actually did come through.
Yeah.
Watch your language.
Think about that. Think about that now. I mean, that guy was dead in the water. I mean, what he was accused of, and I mean, I think the only statement we ever got from Florida was that it had been investigated and there was no evidence. Mm-hmm. And I mean, dogged journalists continued digging after that stuff and everything. But man, that thing just went away, and then he got those guys playing. So give him credit.
Yeah. And now he joins John Calipari as the only SEC coaches with championships under their belt. Tied at 1. How about that?
I'm not even. I don't know what to say, Buzz. Leave me out of that. I did not bring up Cal, but he's our coach. He's still our coach.
Well, at least you didn't bring up Cassidy Rowe either. So I mean, that's
well. You know what?
Well, Miles
brought that up
last week.
It was 2 weeks ago because we took last week off. But when I brought that up, you all kind of went at me like it was a non-story. It was a freaking story, to steal the word from Buzz. Wasn't it, Doc? It was a story.
I was the one who apologized later on. I didn't hear an apology from Buzz Baker, so he evidently still feels like it was a non-issue.
People that should apologize are the people that thought that she was getting kicked out before she got her education. She's already graduated. She got her 4 years. Okay, nobody booted her out on the street or anything, and everybody still loves her. I mean, you're talking guys getting, and some females getting millions and millions of dollars. This ain't the Saturday morning Civitan League where everybody's getting a participation trophy.
That's facts there. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
no last hold.
There was our Casty Row talking point, and we'll move on. Let's switch back to the portal, guys. Let's almost go with you this past week. Coach Pope, man, I tell you what, the portal after the Sweet 16 loss to Tennessee, which again, great frickin' season. That's the word of the night, Doc or Buzz's word. While BBM went to sleep that Friday night, and we woke up and found out basically Pope didn't sleep, and he went on. He went to do what he had to do to get this team or get the program ready for next year. And from that point on to this past week, we're in pretty good hands with Pope. What say you, Buzz?
Well, I think he's incredibly good about that. I mean, we've heard him say things this year about the portal. I forget who it was that they asked about. Maybe it was Creaser or somebody. And he said, yeah, he was one of our Moneyball guys, meaning that it's very much like a fantasy draft that all of us have been involved in, right? That if they only have so much money left, who are the guys we're going to go after? We're going to put a value on a big man, a value on a point guard. But then when we get down to this next roster spot, we're only going to put X value on it. But he's worked it hard. It is absolutely the wild, wild west. And I'll be glad to get into this a little bit later. I don't want to take up a lot of time right now. But dudes, this has got to be fixed, or else this train is going to run off the track.
We'll go down the rabbit hole a little bit. I want to get definitely everyone's take on Pope's week this week. Doc, your take.
Yeah, I love the way the roster has come together. Obviously, he still needs that one knockdown shooter, and hopefully Wilkerson's going to be able to fill that role. But if you look at all the boxes checked, it's just check, 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 check. Yeah, Caden Lewis leaving was a little bit of a bummer. I'll equate that to the regular season, the Arkansas loss from that standpoint. But really, if you're looking for things to worry about, I think really the only area of concern is that he still hasn't locked in that one elite freshman type one and done player who is going to the NBA. I still don't see that guy. And until he does that, I think the brand of UK will have to suffer a little bit. I mean, we need that in order to stay relevant.
Who's the guy that's in that class this year, John? There is no Cooper Flag.
No, there really isn't, but he needs one of those guys. It doesn't have to be a Cooper Flag, but top 5 would be nice, even top 10. Even when you look at all these rankings, even of the portal guys, we're still looking at 30s, 40s, 50s, things like that. Nothing wrong with that. And I think the product on the court is going to be excellent. But I'm talking about the brand. Kentucky basketball, the bar is set very, very high. And I think if you're looking to check all the boxes, you need to check that one final box.
Doc, do you think that some of these high profile, I guess you can sometimes say high ego, top 5 college or high school players would want to come? Well, back in the day, yeah, they would want to come to UK, but do you think they want to come to UK now with the way that Pope is bringing all these really good portal players in and have to share a lot of limelight with, some really good, 3rd, 4th, 5th year players? I mean, do you think that could be an issue? Because, Cooper Flag went to Duke with other high-profile freshmen and a few portal players. So I'm just kind of curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, my thought on that is I do think it's an issue. I mean, things are different right now. It's a whole different era, and you can't compare the era of Kentucky basketball now to what it was back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. But I think the primary issue really is the money aspect of it. Mm-hmm. When you have all that money that you have to now consider and think about, then the idea of playing for a premier school or playing with elite talent just is ratcheted down 3 or 4 levels. It really is all about the money now. And from a fan standpoint, that's unfortunate. I still think the product on the court will be good, but in terms of Kentucky basketball and the passion and the history and the tradition, I think that's taken a big, big hit.
I think it's not only about the money, but it's about stats. Okay, it's like some coaches. Some coaches, you may think Cal's full of hot air, and he is a lot of the times, but he'd tell you that. But I mean, a lot of people don't want to come to this fishbowl. A lot of people don't want to go to a great program like Louisville. If they could make 6 or 7 million or 8 million at Kentucky, why not go someplace that doesn't have that big fishbowl? Like who in the world covers Bill Self during the season? And I mean, what does he make? $5, $6, $7 million? He doesn't have anybody looking over his expenses or where he's going out there in Kansas. And so I think there's a lot of that as well. And there are a lot of players that would rather go someplace that doesn't have a stacked roster. Instead of going someplace for 3 or 4 million, they can go for 2 million. They can get better stats, and they and their people believe that will help them in the draft. I think you're right, Doc, but I think those are all factors too.
Kendrick, the other factor to me is that, the Cooper flags, there's only going to be a handful now of high school players who will come in and be able to make an impact on a major program, because you look at what Kentucky's built, they're not going to be relying on freshmen. They didn't rely on freshmen this season, and next season they won't. And a lot of schools are not going to be. Duke may be one of the exceptions because they've got, they had a great freshman class this year. They've got a great class next year. Duke is being Duke. But yeah, just kind of piggyback on what everyone has been saying about the way the portal is playing out.
Kind of got me thinking. I wonder if low key, and I see what you gentlemen think, if low key, we're going to not have as many one and dones because of the transfer portal. These coaches and teams aren't going to put so much into freshmen. Remember, Pitino already said he's not recruiting freshmen anymore.
That's right.
And so I wonder how that is going to affect the one and done things, where these one and dones just 2 or 3 years ago, if they're going to be a one and done, they're going to be the focal point of your whole team. Whereas now they're bringing in experienced players.
It's a new one and done now.
Yeah, it's a new one and done, and it's and to be honest with you, it's at the detriment of the mid majors. And so, what does that mean for the future? Will we see as many one and dones going forward? Because the money, they're making enough money now, if they're that good, that their first year contract in the NBA is about what they get in college if they're that good, and they don't have to go to some crap team, let's be honest, in the NBA. So will it affect it? I'm still kind of juggling with it myself. I just want to get your all's opinion. What does that mean for the one and done going forward?
Yeah, go ahead, Buzz.
It's interesting, Kev. When you talk about older experienced players, that actually started at Kentucky in the late 40s. When Coach Rupp put together the Fabulous Five, all those dudes had been in World War II. I mean, Cliff Barker was a prisoner of war. I mean, these were grown men when they came back, and so that kind of started that thing. But I think one area that it's really going to help is it's going to help the women's game tremendously. I think Kendrick can speak to this. There are already a handful of women who were projected to be top NBA picks who've already said they're coming back to college. And Haley Van Lith, who I love seeing play over at U of L, Kendrick, I think she's going to her 3rd straight school. And she now with the men, it is strictly pay for play. But for the women, they are actually able to make a lot of money right now, some of them doing name, image, and likeness. But I think because of that, it's going to keep more players like her in college basketball longer.
Yeah, you look at Miles going from Notre Dame to TCU. Yes. I mean, TCU is obviously putting a lot of money into the NIL on the women's side, and so they'll be able to stay. They make more money in college than they do in the WNBA right now. And
right.
Probably not going to change anytime soon. I think the WNBA lost like $40 million last year, and so it's not going to change anytime soon. And so, I think the women's game is going to benefit. Plus, the players just stay longer anyway. And right now they still have an age limit. So you'll get to know the players, and you'll have the Paige Beckers of the world and those and Caitlin Clarks and Angel Reese's of players that'll stick around, and you'll get to know them, and you'll have those big rivalries in the WNBA in the women's college game that you don't necessarily have in the men's game.
Doc, anything to add there?
Yeah, I'm very skeptical about the amounts that are being thrown about. They seem ridiculous. I think it was Pat Forty put together a list of
Well,
what.
check this out. I'm a nice little segue,
Oh,
Doc.
okay.
This was Jeff Goodman had put out this
Yeah,
tweet
that's right.
on
Hold
April
on a
11th.
second. Is this an audio visual effect we've got here on the show for the first time?
Oh no, I have it. I've done it before. You just probably haven't paid attention. But
Okay, thank you. I was getting around the shots.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the only one who can read it is probably Dave O. You have to be under the age.
No.
I'm trying to enlarge this. Okay,
John,
I've got my glasses on. I can see it.
Okay, I'm
John,
doing it.
You can open it.
All right, look, I've just given it some blue chew. So look, guys.
Oh my God.
Okay, look. So Goodman polled 25 plus high major coaches, and as far as salaries coming up for this season, obviously outlier, blah blah blah. Projected elite guys, top 10 to 15, anywhere from 2.5 to 4 million. Projected all league players. I'm reading this because there's an audio version of this. 1.5 to 2.5 million projected starters, 500K to 1.5 million projected bench player. 200K, six figures still, 200K to 700K. And then, I don't know, I think I heard, guys, our NIL budget for next year was about 10 million, which I've heard several schools, and I don't know, there's no cap, correct? I mean, if you could get 50 million as your NIL, that's 50 million good for you, correct?
That's what the Mormons have out in BYU apparently.
Okay.
And I mean, that's why you see in these teams like Oklahoma has Trey Young on as was the GM or whatever. And Steph Curry's now the GM at Davidson or something crazy like that. That's all about contributing to the NIL.
Right.
Well, let me say this, and Doc, I believe your sources, but I believe mine too. I think those numbers are right in line with everything that I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that I don't know what Flag got, but I was told by somebody at the NBA level who I trust that the Kneipel kid got $2 million for signing and $1 million for every year that he stays.
Wow.
I don't know that we'll ever see the number. I think at the end of the day that you'll probably hear, if you haven't already, that Otega Owe got about $3 million, and that was to keep him here. And here's the other thing that is the bigger picture for me. Without getting down in the weeds too much, there has been this settlement that is being worked out between the courts and Congress. And it's basically about guys who did not, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Doc, because I know you know, but these are guys who did not get this money when they played. So they're going back and trying to get it. And they had a hearing this past Monday. And everything I hear is that everybody in college athletics expects this to go in favor of the players. Mitch Barnhart, Josh Hurd, each had delegations from UK and U of L up on Capitol Hill this week that included Pope and Pat Kelsey. I don't think the football guys were there because they're in spring practice, but they were up there trying to lobby. So just since NIL has come into play, you probably had each one of those programs, UK and U of L, you probably had them spend $10 million each in 2 basketball seasons on NIL, and $20 million or somewhere between 15 and 20 on the football number. And unless there's like the big booster, the guy who owns all that Planet Fitness stuff down at the U, or like a T. Boone Pickens or somebody, my understanding is all that money is coming from the school. And I can tell you that there are people in the know who have told me that if this decision goes that way, it would be conservatively about a $30 million hit for Kentucky. And I mean, that kind of stuff is just unsustainable.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
I mean, think about as much as that number 8 was around Louisville at that time when Lamar Jackson was here. I mean,
yes, right, right.
And Lamar's people are already to sue. I think they're going after Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now about the number 8 right now. So
oh no, I mean, I've heard. I have talked to a few guys around here, Kentucky guys that really did not play much, that said they have been told that they would be in line to get several $1,000s a year for 10 years or something like that with this formula that they've worked out. I haven't seen the formula, so I can't speak to it. But I think this is the thing that threatens college athletics as we know it as much as anything, because that's just, it hadn't happened as much to Kentucky and some other schools, but after all the campus unrest and COVID and all that stuff, I mean, there are a lot of schools out there that are hurting financially because of a drop in enrollment, and this is going to be a big old honking deal.
Yeah.
So you can use honking instead of frickin'.
Frickin' and honking. No, I'll use them both.
freaking honking.
Frickin' honking. Per Travis Branham, there's going to be at least 8 teams that will have a 10 million plus roster next season. So
this is for basketball.
For basketball, yes, sir. Yep.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's completely fair.
Yeah, wait till we get going with football in the NIL. That's just going to be insane.
Well, Ohio State had what, 20 plus million this year, I think.
I think you're
Yeah,
right.
25 million. Yeah, $25
That's right.
million.
They had the highest payroll. I know that.
Yeah. Thank you, Davo.
The highest payroll. Wow.
And,
And we know for a fact too, even though all these kids, these portal kids are, hitting the portal, going to another school because of the money, they still have to do their part to be a student, right? Transcripts, all the grades and all that still applies too, right?
Only for one semester. If you're a one and done guy,
okay.
You've only got to be making normal progress toward a degree in the first semester.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because if you decide to go early or transfer or whatever, you're not still enrolled at the end of the second semester when you would get your grades. So if you qualify like that, the only real thing you have to do is stay eligible for one semester.
One semester. Okay. Kindred, I know
and
you're
that
on.
could be easier said than done. I mean,
Yes,
there are a lot of people on the academic side who have a lot of anger, jealousy, vitriol toward the athletics program. And there are a lot of people out there who could be throwing rocks in the path. You saw what happened to Big Z last year. Who's to say that the same thing might not happen to Yelovich, this year? Who knows what the admissions requirements truly are and what's going to shake out from that aspect. So when you have all these transfers back and forth, nothing is etched in stone until they're stepping out there on the court, in my mind.
But yeah, and you're entirely right, Doc, but that's why you got to start working on them in April instead of in August.
Yeah, I had an intern last summer. She was on the U of L women's basketball team. If you can't do well in school now, that's on you.
That's right.
She literally, I think she told me she physically went to like 2 classes a week.
Yes.
Everything else is online. So you can't do an online course.
Pre-COVID, when he won the Heisman, didn't Johnny Manziel take all these classes his senior year online?
Yes. Yeah.
He did not go to an in-person class.
I think after Lamar's freshman year, I think he did all of his classes online.
Well, there you go.
I'm for him.
Kevin, one final thing on those numbers. I still do think that they're inflated, and they're inflated for a reason, because the people who are bargaining want them to be inflated.
There you go.
But you got to wonder, why is it always such a deep, dark secret? Why have we never even found out, okay, what's this person making? All this, you're right, Buzz, it is not sustainable at all. But also we have to realize that we're in this transition period where people are making things up as they go along. I'm hoping against hope that once, I don't know, maybe it's going to take Congress to crack down and start saying, this is what's legal, this is what's not legal, here are the rules, let's all play by the rules. You're going to have this free-for-all, this Wild West that we've all heard about. and these numbers are just going to go berserk because people are going to get what they want to get before the rules kick in. But I think once the rules do kick in, then you're going to see kind of a revision back to a more normalcy in terms of all these numbers that we're hearing. But I do equate it to inflation. It's like writing books. However many books somebody tells you they've sold, divide it by 10, and then you'll have a number that's pretty close.
Two things on that line, just real quick, Doc. So along those lines,
I'm a million seller, by the way.
Thank you. I had a major thoroughbred owner who's a supporter of the UK program out at Keeneland one day tell me, say, listen, you can have a horse that you think is worth $2 million, but if somebody's offering you $500,000, you've only got a $500,000 horse. The other thing is, and Doc, you could check on this for us. Well, Davo has probably already got the answer, but do you think getting that kid from Croatia or wherever he's from, that he would be subject to tariffs as well? So would it cost Kentucky more to get him here?
Is Croatia on the tariff list?
I don't know if it is, or I'd have to check and see what the most recent one is. But
maybe he's an iPhone.
Or maybe he's the one. He's the one person on that the island of penguins.
Well, you know, they had that. I saw a tweet the other day. Apparently, the center for Duke is from Sudan, and the State Department just last week, Rubio issued this thing that was going to revoke all the visas for all the students from Sudan because of what the government had done or something.
You're right.
It's Malawak, right?
That's exactly right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well,
good call.
Kendrick, I know. Go ahead.
I do think if they ever become employees, then they become states employees. So we'll know everybody's salary.
Well, you should. They should be on the same database, right?
Yep.
And they should be filing tax returns.
Yep.
That too. Kendrick, I know you got a busy night ahead of you. Last words. I'll let you bounce so you can go to your real job. So.
No, I appreciate all you guys. Appreciate being able to be on the show. And, you know, I say the future is very bright with Mark Pope. I mean, you give him some time because I know because the funny thing was when Louisville was starting to get signing after signing after signing, and Kentucky hadn't gotten any yet, people were starting to freak out. Well, U of L had a 2-week head start.
Yeah. That's a good point too.
They was still playing when they was able to go out there and make some moves, and so I think by the time it's said and done, I think the rosters are going to be comparable, and I'm glad I'm going to have an actual game where both teams might have numbers out to the side of their names when they play each other in December.
I think it's in both schools here in the state, they're in good hands. Yes. Kendrick, thanks for hanging. I'll be in touch. We gotta connect soon, brother.
For sure.
All right.
Good seeing everybody.
Good seeing you, Kendrick. Right. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right, good stuff.
Kev, he's one of the really good dudes. We're fortunate
I love
to have a lot of
cat.
good dudes in this state, but we're owned by the same company and we work with each other quite a bit on things. Mm-hmm. And he is number one.
Yeah, when I was reaching out or talking to him today about coming on, I was telling him who was on, and he's like, "Oh hell yeah, I'm coming." So it's mutual respect for you guys.
No, Davo sealed the deal.
Davo's yeah.
He's probably like, who the hell is Davo?
Davo's my guy. All right, he's he's our
guy now.
He's our guy. Yeah, he's my round of shots guy. So, all right, let's see. Some more talking.
By the way, can I mention one other thing?
Absolutely.
Speaking of round of shots, once the floods hit last week, I volunteered to put together an elite team to go to Buffalo Trace Distillery and save all the bourbon I could. And they wouldn't allow me to do it because of safety concerns. But I volunteered. I was going to go in there and get every barrel I could and save it.
Here's something. I'm gonna share this. Oh, what am I doing? All right, hold on.
You just like that flame frame.
No, I'm. There's a rhyme and reason. Let me do it. Damn it. Shit. Oh, where I'm at. Anyways, look, everyone, take a moment. Yeah. BBN, take 10 seconds and go silent and look at the blue behind Buzz. That is beautiful. Look over your shoulder. That blue back, it's blue to us. I don't know what it actually is. But look, I'm just, I mean,
I was at the 4th of July. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I love my light where the heck is my light up here? Oh, there. This thing looks like glass. There it is.
Does
But
it?
it's just
Does
like
it?
it's like a paper mache thing, but it creates that blue hue.
Hmm.
And I got it for like $12 or something. Whoops.
We see blue.
No,
There's his
I'm still here.
Uh,
But thank
I
you.
mean,
Though. This
yeah, I
is
mean, it's a blue
the way
black.
we kind of run around, and you understand that. And this was a present from my wife, and I love sitting out here year round.
Okay, where we at?
Oops, I lost the audio. Where's my audio?
Where is your audio? All right. Well, Dave's or Buzz is getting his audio. Davo,
Where's
let me,
my? I bet I hit
we
this.
we can hear you. Davo, you know, we've got to the point with NIL where you got a player at Tennessee, starting quarterback, holding out. He wants his NIL contract renewed. The first.
That was one of the most ridiculous things I think I ever read on Twitter, and I've read a lot of stuff.
Oh, there it is. I think.
You know, you get to a point where it's so laughable that we're coming down to where college kids are literally using the NFL 10 toes down. I'm not coming to practice. I'm not coming to meetings unless you pay me. And it has gotten so incredibly crazy and so out of hand. You know, it came down to statistics last year too. I believe Nico was like the 7th best quarterback statistically in the SEC, and he was demanding $4 million more to play. And you're like, what the hell? Like, even that doesn't make any sense across the board. So,
well, in fairness, Davo, was it per se Nico, or was it his agent, or whoever? But
it's just camp.
It's right. My point is that this is now a business,
and as a business, I guess Tennessee would be his employer, has the right to tell him, get the hell out. I mean, if you don't like what we're paying you, your performance is not worth another 400% raise. Go find someplace else that will pay you that much. So.
If there was one positive coming out of Knoxville lately, that was them taking a stand and saying, you're not going to hijack our program. You're not going to do this. However, you know, wait till the story comes up, Buzz, Doc, where another Nico does that to his team, or to the program, and the football program does cough up the money, which sets a whole new precedent.
And somebody trying to climb the ladder will. But to speak to your point, Kev, that's not what this is supposed to be. Again, it's supposed to be name, image, and likeness. And originally it was like, you have to do something to get the money. Let's say you're sponsored by a Ford dealer. You don't necessarily have to do a commercial, but you could go down and you could speak to a bunch of people on the Ford dealer's behalf at the local Rotary Club or something. But now it is just plainly clear that it's just pay for play.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Doc, the Tennessee thing.
Yeah, inmates running the asylum. NIL has morphed from little Johnny putting a picture of himself on a T-shirt and earning a little hamburger money to all this overinflated Jeff Goodman numbers out there that somebody like Nico sees and said, okay, man, I'm going to test this. If somebody sitting on the bench is making this much, I deserve this much. The only way out of this is to go ahead, set up some sort of contractual agreement where they are employees, throw in collective bargaining. If somebody violates it, then they're subject to the penalty. Other than that, people are just going to go wild. They're going to continue to test the waters, push the boundaries, and you're going to have crazy stuff like this. We're in for it. You get what you ask for. And for the next couple of years, it's going to be like this until things level out.
Will there ever be? Go ahead.
Go.
No, go, Buzz. Go.
You know, and John, I understand what you're saying, and I'm normally fighting with you, but I'm not here. But I mean, this isn't what they asked for. I mean, the establishment has fought vehemently against this, and I think the NCAA misplayed this and misplayed their hand in terms of what their position was legally. I think it is very difficult for athletic departments like Kentucky and Louisville right now. And I think that's why Mitch and Josh Hurd were up in D.C. last week. I think if they had their druthers, they would have the big donors directing their money to the institution. Now, even if the institution then turns around and pays that NIL themselves, it's still going to the institution and not the athletes directly. But it's just incredibly difficult right now. And I am usually Sally Sunshine, and people like you accuse me of being a homer and overly optimistic and everything. But I just don't know how you work your way out of this one right now. This is really serious. I think this is the most serious threat to college athletics as we all know it, having grown up around it, that we've seen.
And you're right. The NCAA is to blame. They've been kicking this can down the road for many, many years. When did O'Bannon play? When did that start? It's got to be.
Oh gosh.
Well, that's where it all started, right?
Right. It was
he's
EA
the one
Sports
he's actually the one that
filed the suit.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So they have had plenty of opportunities and plenty of chances to proactively find creative ways to head this off, and it hasn't happened. And unfortunately, not only is it bad for everything around the sport, but I think it hurts Kentucky even more now, because we're a state that's not going to be able to compete in NIL money with, the big oil barons down in Texas or anything like that. This is going to relegate Kentucky at a disadvantage.
The prestige of being a blue blood will not be a factor moving forward.
Yeah, it's already diminished somewhat.
Well, yeah.
But I would just say to you, Kev, though, that if we go back to the major league example, and things that are near and dear to all of our hearts, when George Steinbrenner came in and started just spending bukus of money, it did not automatically mean that his
Titles,
major
right.
market team would beat the Big Red Machine.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened. But it certainly puts people at an advantage. But it's just like any other business. You can have inexhaustible funds, but if you don't spend them correctly or judiciously, you can just end up losing a whole bunch of money.
Here's a case in point. I'm going to try to bring this scenario into play, and Dave, I'll start with you. But right, whether you love Cal, don't love him, whatever, we always knew, Davo, that we were going to get basically the best talent. Some of the best high school players every year were going to show up to Kentucky. That was just a given. The problem was that they didn't always translate to a great team. Great players, but not a great team. Now, here's the scenario here. You go out, even programs right now whose NIL budget is whatever, and if their vision is to, go after the best players, it doesn't translate into a great team. Now, this might be the homer in me talking. Yeah, I can be a homer for the purpose of this show.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize.
Yeah, for the purpose of this show, I do try to stay objective. But the truth is, Pope is playing chess. He's building a team. That's what I saw with this team. There wasn't really elite players on this past team, but this was a very good team. I see him doing the same thing. Ratings, whatever for each player. But the pieces that he's putting together, position-wise, looks like he's assembling a really good team. Dave, I'll start with you.
So simplify that. What do you want me to answer? You went from Cal bringing in a lot of players to Pope getting a really good team together.
So my point is that
clip of the night for Dave.
Yeah. My point is the portal. You don't have to have the best player at every position from the portal.
No.
Pope is building a team. That's what he did this season. That's why what I see him doing
Yeah.
for next season. So when people throw out the stats like, oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
ratings wise, he's not in the top, whatever.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Especially in the portal. I mean, some of our best players were ranked, 60 and below in the portal last year.
Right.
It all comes down to systems and coaching. And Coach Pope has just proven in a very short amount of time that rankings and whatever, it just doesn't matter no more. It's experience and talent is coming together now. And we have tons of experience on last year's team, and they were talented. They probably should have never been on a UK roster back in the day, but you know what? They represented Kentucky unbelievably well. And not only did they represent the state well and the jersey well, man, they made a crazy run that a lot of us weren't even expecting, right?
That's right.
So we can't sit here and say anymore, well, we're going to get the top 5 best portal players. That doesn't mean nothing no more.
You don't have to.
You don't have to do that. You just have to find the right guys with the right character, and that's exactly what Pope is doing, and that's what he's going to continue to do.
But our budget, though, from an NIL perspective, has to still be somewhat competitive to other programs.
Yeah,
to put us in the picture to get good players.
Right. Well, that's why I said he's bringing in the right guys.
Right.
Yeah, some of these young men that are coming into Kentucky, yeah, they still want what the kids are calling it, their bag, right? But they're also really excited to come and play for Kentucky. I mean, JQ got $3 million to go to Arizona State last year, right? And he took like $1.5 million from Kentucky a year. Now, a lot of that probably was UK saying, hey, you're coming off an ACL injury. You may have to think about that. But he took less money to come play for Mark Pope in Kentucky and compared to what Auburn offered him, which was a bit more apparently. So, I mean, Pope is still getting those kids who are going to want to play for UK and maybe take a little less money, which is still an insane amount of money to play college basketball. So that's my point.
Yeah. Go ahead, guys. Doc, Buzz.
Kev, I would say to you that as far as those rankings went with those one and done guys, this is what I've always said about it. Some of you may have heard me say this before. Some of you haven't. Okay. Who was the horse of the year last year in thoroughbred racing?
I'll have to take your word for it.
It was Torpeda Anna. Kenny McPeak, who's from Lexington. It was his filly. She was unbelievable. But she was the horse of the year. Now, the biggest race of the year in terms of attention and everything else is the Kentucky Derby.
Fair.
But the Kentucky Derby, in most cases, unless you're talking about Secretariat or, a Triple Crown winner, an American Pharoah, you're talking about the best horse that's 3 years old at 1.25 miles on the first Saturday in May. So what I've always said about these rankings is, okay, this guy may be ranked number 2 in the country in 1995. But just like those thoroughbreds, if the 95 class isn't nearly as regarded as the 96 class, what have you got if you get the number 2 player?
Right.
And that happens frequently. And so that's why I was never a big fan of the rankings or all that stuff. To me, it was just something that some coaches put out there to show that they were doing their jobs. But I mean, this is again where we would need to get our numbers guys, Corey and those folks. But I mean, how many times have those guys panned out? How many times has the number 1 guy out of high school gone on to be the number 1 guy in the NBA draft?
More times than.
Yeah, there are some, but I mean, I just think that what Davo said is if you're a coach, despite how much money you've got or anything like that, I think you got to have the courage of your convictions. And you got to say, and this is where I believe in Pope. gut feeling and everything is fine, but he's got so much analytic information.
Yeah.
And if he's going to offer a guy, he's going to say, this guy is not only going to be good for our system, but here's where he's going to be able to help us. He's going to be able to A, B, C, D, and he's going to be able to help us 74.2% of the time. And so from that standpoint, you know, I trust fully in what he's doing. But there are some people that only go after those ranking numbers to show, and they don't throw them under the bus, but still the inference is there that if they don't do it, they were the best people available according to the experts.
Well, that was Cal. You know, before really the NIL kicked in, you know, it was I always said, Cal, when it came to his next recruiting class, tell me the top 24 players who's going to be potentially going to be McDonald's All-Americans. That's the only 24 I'm going to be looking at. And I'll grab 4 or 5 of them, hopefully.
And I don't think that's unfair.
No.
But I'll give you another example about that. Like when Reed Shepherd went shooting up the draft boards last year.
Yeah.
A lot of people said he's not that good. I don't know whether he is or not. But what
he didn't make an impact. He has not made an impact on this season at all.
However, what the NBA guys said was that draft, in their opinion, was not nearly as strong as this draft is going to be.
Okay.
So his marketability in their mind, and as it proved out, was much better last year than it would have been this year.
Got it. All right, so that's enough portal talk. We're rounding third and heading for home, guys.
We are.
Yes, this show will end still at before 9 o'clock. So I gotta
show me the money.
Let's get everybody's take. Florida national champions this year. SEC was the best conference, and it's only fitting, Dave-O, that an SEC team was the national champion. What was your take on the championship game, Dave-O, real quick?
It was entertaining. I mean, the whole Final Four was really 2 pretty big choke jobs in the Final Four. Congratulations. Well, you know, Duke, choked away, right. And then Houston choked away that 12-point lead at halftime. So 2 pretty big choke jobs, really, in my view, Buzz, prospectively. But
no, I agree.
Florida's defense caused some of that too. But
Florida's defense caused that, and the referees took over in the second half, as college referees do. But congratulations. I was rooting for Houston, under the cover, and hopefully SEC fans don't get mad at me because Calvin Simpson is a hell of a coach, and he's up there in age, and I think this is his best team and his best shot to win a national title down there in Houston. So. Kind of sucks for him, but the SEC held it down. So congratulations to them, and we'll see if Golden gets an NBA opportunity here pretty soon.
Doc, men's championship game.
I also felt bad for Kelvin Sampson, but when you turn the ball over 4 straight times and then to end it on a play like that, that's just got to be heartbreaking. The irony is Florida's defense ratcheted up, and a team that was so known for their offensive prowess ends up winning it on the defensive end. We give all these kudos to Todd Golden. Yeah, he pulled the right strings. His substitution patterns seemed to work out, but Walter Clayton Jr. was what won that championship for Florida Gators, and there's no dancing around that. He was superb.
Buzz, men's championship game.
You know what? I don't want to break down the game as much as I do the surroundings about it. I mean, I grew up in the era where TV was just coming into play. But as a kid, I was one of those kids that, we didn't have AirPods or anything like that. I was listening to an old transistor radio and would listen to any game I could late at night as I was falling asleep. And so as we were talking before we went on the air, when we had the flooding over here in Frankfort this week, I didn't have any problem at my house, except there was a piece of debris in the Kentucky River that knocked out all the internet and all the cable. So I listened to the game on the radio, and it was great. It was great, and it was just a really unique I've softened my opinion on Bruce Pearl just a little bit. I really felt bad for Janai Broom. He played so well this year, and he was obviously hurt down the stretch, and he wasn't nearly the same player in the NCAA tournament. But hats off to both Houston and to Florida. I don't know what Kelvin's going to do. He seems to be just in incredibly good shape for somebody who I think is like 72. And by all accounts, he's going to continue coaching. And I'm like Davo. I don't think that Golden is long for this world. I think that when he gets the first opportunity, that he might take a jump. That's exactly right. Right. And even though he just took the Xavier job, I think Scott Strickland might try to get Richard Pitino back there at Florida because he was Billy Donovan's top assistant when they won those back-to-back championships.
All right. Men's basketball posted CBS 15.3 million viewers, peaked at 20.4. Real quick, got to give a shout out to Gino, his 12th national title. A very convincing win for you.
Guy's unbelievable. I mean, everybody counted him out, thought he was out. It'd been a while since he won one. Buchers or Beckers or however that's pronounced. She had those 2 knee injuries. And then all he did, I think in the Final Four, his average margin of victory was like 24.5 points.
It's insane.
And as recently as in the last 10 years, despite everything he was doing, I don't know whether it was his son or his grandson or nephew, he was still coaching like a 12-year-old AAU team with a bunch of boys. So I'm all for him.
All right. Someone brought to my attention, even though it's 9 o'clock right now, the show started at 8:01, so I'm at 59 minutes. Yeah. Final shots from everyone. I appreciate you guys. We're sticking to the 60 minutes. Dave, I'll start with you, brother. Final shot.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was in Lexington Saturday at 10 a.m. in 41-degree weather with about 500 of the most passionate BBN football fans inside Kroger Field. So kudos to everybody who showed up to watch a glorified practice. It was really hard to see how they're going to be. Stoops kept a lot of that under wrap. There was just a bunch of 7-on-7 basically. So kudos to those fans and everything. And then kudos to Nick Mingione for beating the number 2 ranked baseball team in a ridiculously long 5-hour and 15-minute game.
15 innings.
15,
yeah, 15 innings. Sorry, yeah, it seemed like 15 hours. 5 hours and 15 minutes. Sorry, and I am still undefeated as a fan going to Kentucky Proud Park.
Yes, sir.
To watch Kentucky play. So
there you go, Doc. Final shot, sir.
Yeah, Derek Ramsey, who was the quarterback of that 1977 team that went undefeated in the conference, may never be matched, was inducted into the University of Kentucky College of Arts and Sciences Hall of Fame. Yeah. And Derek, in his acceptance speech, he mentioned how he's been in a lot of athletic Hall of Fames, but this is his first academic one. I thought that was extremely, extremely permanent, especially given the landscape of college sports right now, where the value of an education, of a scholarship has been reduced to absolutely nothing, an afterthought. And yet here's somebody, because of his degree, did so many good things for not only his sport, but for his state and for his college. So kudos, college education, it still ranks up there. My degree from UK is still my most valuable asset.
Ramsey is a legend as far as I'm concerned.
Well said, Doc.
Yeah. Buzz, final shot, sir.
And he's still like the skinniest man in the world. I mean, honest to goodness, John, doesn't he look like he could still play?
Yeah, I think he said one of his biggest regrets was he wasn't able to play quarterback. He would have checked it all to be able to go up to the CFL just to start.
Oh my God,
quarterback! Yeah, isn't that pretty amazing?
I saw him a couple of weeks ago. I said, "Damn, D, I'll buy you a sandwich if you'll eat it." I mean, I'm like, "What are you doing?" I mean, he looked like he was in great shape. All right, Davo, you're going to get a demerit. next time you go over to Lexington from Shelbyville and you don't call me to ride with you from Frankfurt. But this is, as the state police say, this is a courtesy notice. But here's what I want us to do. I want us to get together a round of shots get together, and anybody who wants to come, maybe we can do it before the end of Keeneland or do it over at Churchill or something, since most of you guys are over there. And that's what I want to do.
I tell you what, I want to show up and do it on your patio or your deck, wherever you're
on the
at.
deck.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
Let's figure that
Donna
out.
From, Donna
we do.
from Frankfurt would love to have you here.
Yeah, I'll bring some of my million-selling books, and then we'll be able to kind of really draw in the crowd then.
Are they
right, guys.
autographed, or did you do it with a machine that Joe Biden used to sign all those?
No,
executive
you're going to get a personally autographed
go.
one, personally autographed only.
I
All
love
right,
that.
good stuff. Shout out to Kendrick Haskins for joining us tonight. Kendrick, thanks,
What a great
brother.
guy. Love you, boys.
Doc, Buzz, Davo, good stuff. Go Cats. Everyone have a good week. Peace out. Love y'all. See you.
Peace out. I love
Out.
that. See you, boys.
Bye.